This is Mitch. Welcome to the 1000houses.com podcast. I have Roger Auger on the line. He's from Canada, and he's going to be talking to us about, some buy and hold strategies and tell us what he's been up to. But I would like to first pay homage to our sponsor, taxfreefuture.com. If you do not have a tax-deferred or tax-free account in which to grow your finances or your retirement, then you are missing a huge tool in your tool belt. Please go to taxfreefuture.com. Watch the 37 little video vignettes. My favorite is where you put a little bit of money in a tax-deferred fund and grow it to a whole lot of money. Little tricks and strategies. They're out there for you, but you got to learn. All right, taxfreefuture.com. Hey, Roger, how you doing? We paid the bills. Are we good?
Yes, we are great. Thank you for asking.
All right, so where are you sitting physically right now? What city, state, province?
So I'm in Canada, Ontario, and Hamilton, Ontario. Hamilton is
cool.
Outside Toronto.
Tell us a little bit about you and the strategies that you've been using to get ahead in the world.
So I'm an entrepreneur by choice. I'm self-motivated working, obviously, as an entrepreneur. I buy real estate, I buy stock options, and I do buy and hold. I do flips, I do student rentals, I turn properties into multiple family units, and I do wholesaling.
All right, so kind of done what I've done. How long have you been in the business?
Almost 10 years.
Okay, so I just want to point this out to the listeners. He rattled off a lot of different strategies, but it's, in my humble opinion, you don't jump off into all these strategies at one time. Oh. I'm going to guess that you honed one till you were an expert, and then you started learning other little strategies to add to your tool belt.
Yeah, so I started with student rentals. I bought my first property was a student rental, which is like a university here, had students living in it, and they were paying me higher rent for per room. I started off of that. I had several student rentals going. And then I bought into a single-family home and didn't really like the single-family home because the cash flow was very low. Then I went into turning into houses into duplexes where there's two-family homes in one unit. And that's my strategy now. But when I see a property, sometimes because of my experience, I can either flip it, I can either wholesale it, or I can turn to a student rental, or I can turn into a duplex or triplex. All depends on what the property wants me to do and what the area of the property is in. And I learned all this because I've done it so many times. I didn't just jump in and do all this at once. No, I've been doing this for 10 years and I've been working on different strategies every time. My best strategy right now is buy and hold. Until I talked to you this morning. I like your idea. It's a lot better than mine because I don't have to do with LTV because LTV here is land on tenant board here is very hard to do with.
So one of the things though that you have going for you is like I was a landlord before I shifted myself to seller financing. It really helps that you have experienced the issues with being a landlord. That really makes a difference when you're trying to choose or to decide to do a seller financing strategy, because until you know the pain of being a landlord, you're not really equipped to understand all the reasons, the benefits for a different strategy. You're a long way down the road. And I did the same. I had about 25 rentals and I wasn't making any money. Could have been I was the worst landlord in the world, but
it depends on tenants. Like there's a lot of good, sorry about that. There's a lot of good tenants out there where good people where they pay rent on time, they take care of the property. But then there's the oddball one that takes up all your time. Because they're just insane, and unfortunately, you have to deal with them because you rented to them, and you have legal procedures to get them out if you want them out. But at the end of the day, I still don't mind landlording because I have really good tenants, and I keep my units empty until I find the perfect tenant for my units. Where a lot of landlords here just jump in, the first person that gives an application as a deposit, they just let them have the property. Where I had units were empty 3-4 months before I found the perfect person I wanted in the house. And by doing that, that saved me a lot of aggravation.
We adopted the same philosophy in the seller financing strategy. Unless someone had at least 10% down and we really like them, we just wait. we used to, today we have like a 0.02% foreclosure rate. And I'm collecting on, hundreds of mortgages. I used to have a much higher foreclosure rate, like 12 or 15%, because I was only taking 3% or 4% down, and there just wasn't enough glue to make them hold.
Right.
Kind of the difference, though, one of the differences in the buy and the hold and the seller financing strategy is I can get lucky and someone can give me 25% down on a $100,000 house. I could collect $25,000 tomorrow on any one of the houses I have for sale. It doesn't happen every day, but I have that chance. I'm at least going to collect, 10% or, an average of 10 grand. And that's my money. It's not a deposit. So that's one thing that never happens as a buy and hold guy. You never get anyone that gives you a $25,000 non-refundable lease deposit, I wouldn't imagine.
No.
And I've had people give me 50% down.
Wow.
That makes it pretty easy to decide to rent to them. But we still have regulations. We have to make sure that we have a reasonable reason to believe that they can pay, because they passed that law so that you couldn't collect 50% down on a house to someone you knew couldn't even make the payment on the remaining balance because they worked at Walmart and they just didn't have the income.
Right.
You're going to foreclose on them eventually, but you want the 50 grand out of their pocket and in yours. This is bad business, and so we got to, you and I are probably from the same cloth, right? It's got to be a win-win for everybody. The private lender, the guy that goes in the house got to get whatever he's supposed to get. We've got to get what we're supposed to get. The neighborhood should be better off. A lot of things should be better if we do our job right and got to have a little bit of a higher reason than just I want the money.
Yeah, and when everybody wins, everybody's happy. It's a smoother transaction. If you're taking advantage of somebody, karma's a real bitch. It'll come back on you, right? So
karma's a bitch.
Yeah, I didn't know if I can swear or not, but karma is a bitch, and I've seen it. Where if you do something evil or unethical, it comes back. Right? Not me, because I don't do anything unethical, but I see it with people all the time. But I'm a strong believer win-win's the best scenario. Yeah.
There was this book they wrote a long time ago, kind of tells you how to do things. You know the one I'm talking about?
No, your book?
No. It was written about 2,000 years ago. It's called the Bible. Oh. And if you could just live by those rules, your life will be as smooth as it could possibly be. So that's what we try to do. So 10 years, how prolific are you? Are you doing a house every quarter or every month, or what are you trying to do?
Right now I'm in the stage of renovating 4 of my properties. I'm turning them into a duplex and triplex. Once they are done, I'm going to refinance them, and then I'll buy some more properties. So I have cash held up in that. I've just done 6 wholesale deals in the last 2 weeks. And I've done, what else have I done in the last? Yeah. Oh, and I purchased one yesterday, a property yesterday, for myself.
Cool. So you're an expert at finding deals, which is the key to the whole thing. There's like 2 keys or 3 keys: finding it, funding it, and selling it, right?
Yeah. And sometimes
or converting it.
Yeah, sometimes when you find a good deal, you want to keep it for yourself, or you kind of, when you wholesale, you kind of pick your best person you get along with for wholesaling, because you want them to buy more properties, right? Like my last person, I just found out he made $150,000 equity on his wholesaling deal after he renovated it. So now the value of the property is up $150,000. The properties here in Canada are really expensive. The average property here in Hamilton is $500,000 above, right? So when you make $150,000 on a property, you're doing really well on it.
Are you allowed to seller finance properties in Canada, or do you know?
I don't know. I'm going to find out, though. It's hard at $500,000, but
you still got to find some affordable houses, and if you're saying houses are $400,000 and $500,000, I don't know that the strategy works as well when you start getting into that caliber of house. You know what I mean?
What we do in Canada, we do things called rent to own. It's kind of the same thing what you're doing. Rent to own, you buy a property, say for $400,000. You would sell it to the renter 3 years down the road at $480,000 because the value of the property's gone up that much. You get a deposit of $5,000 to $20,000 down, and they will pay. You have to hold a mortgage. The person, like myself, will hold a mortgage, and then they will pay me the mortgage, property tax, and insurance, and a premium above that. So they'll pay like $2,500 a month, and then they will have to buy the property in 3 years. If they don't buy the property from you in 3 years, you can remove them from the property, or you can do another contract with them. So it's kind of the same thing what you're doing, but completely different. We just call it rent to own. Your strategy is a lot better than ours because you have no money into it, versus we are holding the mortgage here.
The problem I found with rent to own myself was twofold. One was a lot of time, most of the times they would never exercise their option. Because when they moved in the house, it smelled really good and it had new carpet. And by the time it was time to refinance it, they had dog crap all over the carpet and the windows were broken and they didn't like the house anymore. I mean, so the romance had wore off the whole thing. You know what I mean? Like when they were hot to have the house, that moment, the house is humdrum now. The second thing was, which I really found disturbing, was that it's supposed to be a good day when you get $20,000, $30,000 down on a non-refundable option deposit. But if they lawyer up when it's time to move them out because they didn't exercise their option, judges are really hard on you when they've given you a lot of money. That should have been a good day when you got a lot of money down. But it can turn to a very bad day if you got to go into court and these people gave you $50,000 down on a $300,000 house. And then now they didn't exercise their option and they want some of their money back, so they lawyer it up. And judges and juries just don't like to see these poor people, quote, I laugh sometimes, being taken advantage of by us rich guys because they can't honor their word, So it doesn't, it's not fair, and it's perfectly right what we're doing and what we ask, or the consequences that happen are perfectly all in writing. But when you get in front of a judge or a court, the bigger down payment or the bigger rent option fee, the bigger option fee works against you.
Yeah, so, I get that. Yeah, I did a couple of rent to owns, but nothing. I didn't really have any problem with them. They bought them out afterwards.
Well, I'm just saying, and most of the time you probably won't, right? But I'm just saying, there's those times, So,
of course.
You do enough volume, you'll run into everything, right?
Yeah.
Until you learn not to do it. Like I'm a big proponent of, he checks this box, good. The down payment box, good. I called to work, it's all good. But the last thing I check in with me and tell me if you do the same thing. I check in with my gut, and if my gut doesn't like the guy, he's out. Yeah,
my gut. I go with my gut all the time. That's why I said before I put someone on my properties, I'll keep it empty until I find a perfect person. I went against my gut, and I got screwed so many times because I felt bad for the person. I get emotionally attached to the person because of their situation they're in. I don't go against my gut anymore. I agree with you 100% there.
Here's a lesson for the listeners from two pros. He just said it, but I've been sued 3 times in my entire life over real estate, over anything. These are 3 times it was in the real estate setting. It was 3 people that I bent over backwards to help that were damn near homeless or about to be homeless. I solved the problem. I got them SSI. I got them their checks coming in from the government and all their stuff coming in. All you had to do is pay me $400 a month, to live in this mobile home on this land or whatever. And then they didn't pay me. And then I went to get them out because they just weren't paying and I don't know what else to do. Of course, if they go out and they go under a bridge again, then all their checks are going to stop because the federal government doesn't mail checks to bridges. And so they dig in like nobody's business. They get a free attorney down at the office for poor people, a legal aid. And then now here I am fighting these 3 people that I've been over. So I learned one very valuable lesson. If you want to do charity, get out your checkbook and write a check to the favorite charity of your choice, or get out and go work with that charity and help Houses for Humanity build a house or something. But you do not do charity with your real estate and your real estate business because it's hard to undo some things.
Yeah, it is. And we have the same laws here. We have legal aid for the poor people. We have landlord tenant board where it protects them. And when I went against my gut, they ended up staying for 6 to 7 months for free before I got them out. And then when they got him out, I was the evil guy. I was a trash guy. They trashed me. I was the bad guy, right? Rich man going after poor people. I'm like, no, I need to pay the mortgage on this property. I need someone else to pay it. I can't carry it and pay for my stuff for my own family and pay for yours at the same time.
Yeah, forever forever. That was the same thing. You know, I won all three of my cases. It cost me about $40,000 each to win. At the end of the day, they were mobile homes on some lots, you know, decent little places, but I didn't have that much in them. I'd have been far better off if I'd have just given them the house. In my young youthfulness, I stood on principle and had to write $120,000 worth of checks. I won. Today, we just write checks to get people out really fast. Don't go to court. Let me give you your down payment back, whatever. Just move along and let me get to the good stuff.
Yeah, cash or keys. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's no you find out in court really fast that it becomes about anything and everything that it's not.
Yeah.
It's not about they signed a paper and didn't agree. It becomes about every little period and every little cross on a T. They're trying to mess you up in some fine detail somewhere where you're a crook. You know, you're a bad guy. You would have thought I was Hitler when they finished cross-examining me. I was like, holy cow! Did you see Judge Kavanaugh proceedings when they made him cry at the table?
No, I didn't.
Know, they vetted a federal judge here, and they just ripped him a new one. I was the same way. They were accusing me of such heinous things that I damn near broke down on. Well, I did break down in the process because no one's ever said those things about me ever, and never should they have been said.
Right.
You know, but they come at you with such teeth and such vile that it's very disheartening.
Yeah.
So it was a good lesson though.
Yeah, and you know what? Because you have a lesson, you're not going to do it again, right? So now you learn new strategies by giving cash for keys. It's a lot easier, a lot faster. You don't have to deal with the stress. You don't have to deal with the insults. And you don't have to deal with the repercussions of legal fees, legal issues, right?
Well, yeah, and they always want treble damages, or once they lawyer up, they say, we can get this, we can get you $1 million out of this guy. And then they won't settle by the time they lawyer up. So the trick is you just have to quell it before it ever gets that far.
Yeah.
Whatever the amount of check is you need to do, just get it over with.
Right.
You know?
And they have nothing to lose, right? You're going after a person that has nothing to lose. They don't care.
Okay, so we're talking about all these horror stories, which is one thing I appreciate about podcasts that are honest, because we could be up here just painting you nice pictures of Lamborghinis and big boats and good-looking girls and huge checks, and that was one of the reasons I wrote my first book, was because let me tell you what happens after the Get Rich seminar. Let me tell you about what they're not telling you. And I went into the success of it, but I also said, but here's the problems that you might run into. And you'd be much better off if you were at least aware of where the potholes are in this road as you're going 100 miles an hour,
Right.
Yeah. So you wrote a book. What's it called?
It's called No Excuses, because I deal with a lot of people that are very successful in life, and they always come up with ways of saying there's an excuse for them not to get involved in real estate or anything that can help their cash flow, right? And so I wrote a book because I'm a very, very, I might have grade 3, grade 4 reading and writing skills. And for me to write a book it's incredible. It's hard. So I wrote a book because of the fact that I was given the excuse that I could not write a book because of my reading and writing skills. So it took me almost 2 years to do it, and I wrote a book, and now it's published, and people are liking it. It's called No Excuses by Roger Auger.
Hold it up. You got it there?
Yeah, I got it right here. It's a small book. It's a couple hundred pages. It's nothing big, but it tells you a story about my life story and what made me get into real estate, and a couple of real estate deals I've done in it. But it's more to help have somebody that has a rough start, that's in a rough situation, to give them a head up saying, hey, if I can do it, you can do it. Just put your mind to it. And it gives you a way to goal sets and stuff to show yourself that you can do anything you want to, put your mind to it. You don't. So
your book was to inspire people that not to feel beat down. I mean, get up. You know, you can do it. Got to get educated. Got to find something to focus on and become an expert at. You know, got to find something.
It doesn't have to be real estate. It doesn't have to be stocks. It doesn't have to be anything. It could be, you could be a carpenter or a plumber or a roofer. You can be anything you want to be. You just have to get up and say, you know what, today's a new day. I'm going to start doing what I want to do and become what you want to do. And as long as you're happy with it, then you're doing good. Don't let your emotions or your past issues that something happened to you hold you back, because we're all capable of doing something. We're all capable of doing great.
Your past does not define you. I remember clearly the day that I woke up and said, okay, and I'm always looking for this in my students, you know, especially if they're want to be at a higher level. I'm looking to see if I've had enough meter is pegged in the red, because that's kind of what it takes to get out of that cycle of work, paycheck, work, paycheck, work, paycheck. So I'm looking to see if I've had enough meter is pegged way over in the red. And if they are, I think, okay, I think there's enough angst here for this person to get off dead center, and let's do something. I think they're going to do something. And I remember the day that I made that decision. I woke up one day and said, I'm never going backwards again. I'm going to be worth at least $1 more tomorrow than I am today. And I don't care what it takes, but I'm never going backwards again, ever.
Yeah.
And I readjusted my whole life to make sure that I never went backwards. My net worth grew from that day forward, and it's amazing how it starts to snowball. Yeah. Because when you make that kind of decision, right, you're setting parameters and rules that you don't go back on anymore, and these rules are designed for you to go forward, and you don't break those rules anymore.
Right. And you know what? And you said yourself, one day you woke up and decided to change, and now look what you are. If you didn't decide to change the situation you're in, then you would not have a couple thousand houses and plus storage units, right? It's because you decide. And that's what the book's about, is saying, okay, you know what? Sure, we all have shitty things that happen to us. So we all have bad things that happen to our past or when we're growing up. We need just to stop thinking that that person, whoever hurt us, stop it and start to live our life the way we want to, and not have any excuses, not have any non-determination saying, I can't do it because of this reason. That's bullshit. Get off your ass and make a goal, break down the goal to daily and increase it. And it was a little chapter called Forgiveness and Move On. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm glad you wrote this kind of book. You could never get too many of this kinds of book. I don't know, one time when I was writing my book, I started to quit because I said, I'm not saying anything new. And right. I'm not inventing anything. And a very intelligent man sat me down and said, it's very difficult to say anything new or to come up with anything new in these days. A lot has been written and a lot has been said by multitudes of people. He said, but your voice may reach someone that someone else's voice may not reach. The way that you phrase it, the way that you put it, your life experiences may connect more closely to theirs than some other person. So that's why you do it. You keep going because your voice and your experiences are unique, and they may tie closer to someone else. And so I don't think there can ever be enough of those books because it's always written from a different angle or someone else's voice. Thank you. I agree with that. Yeah. Like, I'm just hoping to help one person. If one person changes, like I do a chair, I have a chair that I own and operate here in Hamilton as well. And if we can help, if one person can change from my book, then the book is completely worth for me to take 2 years to write it. Because I see a lot of people in Canada here, I'm not sure about the US, but probably a lot of people in my area that are struggling and are not living their lives. And when I do see that, my tenants or other people, I give my book to them and say, listen, just read it. You know, hopefully you can turn a leaf. And we all need to come together, help each other to do this, and only up to a certain point, right? But definitely, anyone can do what they want to do if they believe in themselves.
Well, hats off to you, because business is always better and always goes further when there's a higher reason than just the money. And it sounds like you have a higher reason. I do. Like I do. I want to help as much as I can, and I teach people here how to go into real estate and buy real estate. I don't have any classes. Just people call me, whatever, and I walk them through certain things, or don't buy that house, buy that house, whatever, just because I want them to succeed in life too. And if they succeed better, then
their kids would be better off, right? And their kids would be better off. So I'm trying to do one step at a time. And so the book is to hopefully help people, hopefully.
Well, if it's not unusual for it to come back tenfold. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even when you're not looking for it. So, you got anything you might want to say to the up and comers out there before we wrap it up?
Yeah, if you're going into real estate, find the one that you really like doing. And don't jump into 20 different avenues of real estate. Focus on one. Get that one to be your prime, and then branch out to little ones. Like I've seen people where I had clients in the past that were doing multiple things and then up losing their shirt. So just do one investment, start that, get it going, great, like a duplex student rental or whatever, or your method, and then get that going and then branch off to other things. Don't try to do everything at once. And if you purchase my book, great. Give it to somebody that can use it and hopefully help change their lives, because that's the point of the book. I don't make money off the book. I haven't, because it took me 2 years to write it, but it's to help others, and that's what I want the book to do.
Sounds very interesting. So before we go, let's give us a little case study if you can. You don't have to be exact or anything, but
yeah.
Tell us about your most successful deal.
Okay, so I have a lot of. Okay, so I bought my most successful deal recently in the last 6 months. It was this property I bought by our stadium. We have a football stadium, and I purchased it on a wholesale deal. I purchased it for $500,000. They're expensive here, of course. And then it was a single-family home, but it was laid out as a duplex, but it had room to turn to a triplex. So I turned it into a duplex right away. I have two families living there, and they're paying me $3,400 a month I get for rent for those two places. And then I turned it to a triplex, which I get another $1,500 a month. So now I only pay $500,000 for this property. So I'm making about $5,000 a month in rental payments. We just had the property appraised, and now the property is worth $900,000, and I put $100,000 worth of renovations in it. So that's what my newest.
So you have like $300,000 worth of equity there and a cash flow.
Yeah.
How did you fund that house?
I did private lending first. So I found a private lender that would lend me the money for the house. And now because we're refinancing, we're going to a big five bank here, like CIBC or Scotiabank will finance it for us.
Get a little more reasonable interest rate in the longer term, right?
Yeah, so we're looking for that 3%, and we're probably going to finance it for about $750. So I'll pull out my down payment that I put in, plus I pull out my money I put in, plus an extra $100,000, and it was still cash flow almost $1,000 a month after the payments. And I'll have no money in the property. It took me.
Oh, good for you. Not only you don't have any money, but you put some money in. You put $100,000 in your pocket. So. Yeah,
exactly. And that's
that's a great plan.
Yeah, and that's what I do over and over and over again here. It just takes a little longer to do so. Then I take that $100,000 and I buy another property, right? But it does. That's my strategy here now. But and having the monthly income from the rents, right? Because having $1,000 cash flow is $12,000 a month a year. You times that by the 20 houses, that's $20,000 a month, right? So it's good.
Yeah. All right, my friend, I really appreciate taking the time. I want everyone to go to 1000houses.com, Auger, AUGER, and check out his book. Hold it up again for me, will you?
Yeah, no excuses.
Yeah, no excuses. And also just want to let you know that we're sending people to the show notes, and it's evergreen. So, Roger, if you ever got anything you want to add there, or you're going to give a speech one day or be on whatever, you can post it there. Have your folks call my folks; they'll get it up, and
awesome. I will do.
And it'll be there for people. So if you think of anything, I love it that you're just trying to help people. That's what the whole point of this podcast is. I don't care what strategy to go. If you buy my course or someone else's course, or you just find a mentor somewhere, I'm just trying to help people find where they belong so they can find their financial independence so that they can become the person they're meant to be.
I agree with that.
So I love your philosophy, and I love your book. All right, man, this is Mitch Stephen with the 1000houses.com podcast. I'd like to thank taxfreefuture.com for sponsoring us. Please check out taxfreefuture.com. You won't believe what your financial advisors are not telling you. Yeah, we're going to tell you what they're not telling you. We're going to tell you why they're not telling you. And then you can do with it what you want, but you're going to be impressed. Make sure you check out those 37 little video vignettes. They are very eye-opening. There's a reason why the rich get richer. There's a reason why the rich pay less taxes than a lot of people. And those options are open to even the smallest player. The difference between the people that are complaining about the guys who don't pay taxes, they're not getting educated to find out. The rules are the same for everybody. And it doesn't take just wealthy people to play those rules. You can play the rules, and it's even more important to use those rules when you're broke and have very little money, because being able to defer taxes or pass on taxes completely during some circumstances is a real leg up. And those opportunities are given to people who are drivers who will drive an economy. People that do this stuff create jobs, create movement of money, create movement of materials. They make trucks rolls. They make manufacturers manufacture. So there's a reason why those incentives are out there for people who want to take the time to learn about them. Check one single avenue out, taxfreefuture.com. Check out one avenue at least and see what I'm talking about. All right, we're out of here. Thanks a lot for stopping by to get you some Roger Auger, and check out his book, No Excuses, at 1000houses.com/Auger, AUGER. We out of here.
All right, sir. Thank you very much.